I can still say good morning, right? So I have 14 minutes to tell you why Bitcoin is better money, and I better get started. Thank you for having me. Hi, Prague. This is an advertisement from the 1960s. It's German, but I think it's not hard to understand. It says, "He who saves today has more tomorrow," right? Happy family, happy life, saving on your savings account, just stacking euros or shillings or Czech crowns. This is our life today. Shop now, pay later, and there's one dancing guy. It's really something, right? We pay for stuff that we don't need with money we don't have. We go into debt. Consumer debt is the worst kind of debt. But the problem is that our money today is debt. When you look at the evolution of money, it all starts very primitive. It starts with maybe shells. It goes to precious metals. One very important feature in the beginning of money is scarcity. And then when we end up with precious metals, and it took me a long time to understand this, there is a centralization risk, meaning that the precious metals end up in a safe, and you get a piece of paper that says somebody owes you some gold, right? And then the paper gets traded as money or as currency, and we'll come to this in a second. But the real problem is when the state enters the monetary system and slowly even takes out the gold from the monetary system. So for the last 50 odd years, we have had, for the first time in history, a completely political monetary system that can be manipulated by central banks, governments, absolutely at their will. Unbacked fiat money. It goes into digital money today. This is what we use every day. And then we have Bitcoin, which introduces scarcity to the realm of the digital world. So 1971, some of you might have seen stuff like this, some of you might have not seen some of this, but in 1971, when we entered the gold standard, things got out of whack, right? Productivity was still rising, but real wages stagnated. That's why today we need like 3 parents to go work for one family. And of course, the debt absolutely exploded. When debt explodes like this, and when you have a political monetary system, the rich get richer. Why do the rich get richer? Because they have access to cheap money, and their assets, their stocks, their companies, their real estate portfolio goes up. We've seen this time and time again during the pandemic. Here is Jeff Bezos, and one of the richest Americans became 40% richer during the pandemic. Well, a couple of years later, inflation is rising, now interest rates are rising, and poor Jeff Bezos is losing money. I think he will survive, though. I'm not sure, but I think he will. The problem is that with an unbacked fiat monetary system, all you can do is expand the monetary supply without end. When you look at the monetary supply of all major central banks added together, of course it goes down sometimes. Right now, while we sit here, it does go down. Rates are high, inflation is high, the monetary base does go down sometimes, and Bitcoin, being the alternative, the monetary system that's outside of what we know today as money, actually reacts extremely well to monetary debasement and money printing, extremely well. As soon as a central bank says that they are going to print more money, Bitcoin just reacts, and Bitcoin trades 24/7, 365. Just like a minute ago, I read on Twitter that the Russian banking system was hacked allegedly by the Ukraine, and the whole banking system is down right now. Bitcoin is still trading. It's important to understand that currency is not money. Money is what you can hold in your hand. Money does not have a counterparty risk. The only forms of money that we really know and use today are actually gold and Bitcoin. We've seen this before. But, the currency system we have is not going to go down without a fight. And the central bank digital currencies. I do not have the time to go in detail what that means, but the whole world is working on those central bank digital currencies. And I mentioned what happened in Russia today because, of course, the more centralized the system gets, the more vulnerable it becomes. The pillars of our current monetary system are inflationary currency. The money gets debased over time and loses its value, loses its purchasing power. That leads to speculation. People have to put their money somewhere in order to save. Remember the first slide. People are savers. We go work, we stack the money, we want to have the money later, we want to have our purchasing power later. But if you have negative real rates, if you lose money compared to inflation, you have to speculate. You have to put your money somewhere. You have to put it into real estate. You have to put it into stocks, or maybe put it into, meme coins, NFTs, whatever, right? And that, of course, leads to centralization. Centralization of control and centralization of power and of money, right? Of wealth. That's what we see today. The rich are getting richer because they have access to easy money. They have access to good information. They have access to where the money comes from. They get the money first, and they spend the money, and afterwards prices rise. We see inflation rising, and then we maybe get a wage hike. Yes, 1 year later. So centralization. We talk a lot in Bitcoin circles. We talk a lot about decentralization, but I think it's important to understand that today we do have a somewhat decentralized system. A central bank digital currency would lead to further centralization. But as long as we have banks that actually expand the money supply by giving out loans, we do have a decentralized system. But what we want, because we want something resilient, we want something that everybody in the world can use, what we want is a distributed network, like the internet, that anybody can use and that can be shut off maybe for a time in a location, but it cannot never be shut off globally. So Bitcoin is decentralized, yes, but it's actually distributed. It's not about decentralization only, it's about distribution. Anybody can access, there's nodes all over the world, everybody is a node. Bitcoin as an alternative to paper currency, to central bank digital currency, is actual money. It's an innovative solution that combines technology with economics. And we know that the inventor of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, we don't know who he was, of course, but we know that he had the problems of the current monetary system in his focus, very much in his focus. There is many stories, many messages that he sent, but one important message that he sent was in the so-called Genesis block that was timestamped, the first block of the blockchain. We also call it the time chain of Bitcoin. Chancellor of Brink of second bailout for banks. And I always love to show this, but not like the version that comes from the blockchain, but the version that is actually in the paper. That's the Times of London, right? That was shortly after the financial crisis, or during the financial crisis. And back then, the pubs in London would lower the prices of a pint of beer to 99 pence. I think today in London, I haven't been there because it's too expensive, but today in London you will be hard-pressed to even find a beer for 99 pence in the supermarket, let alone in the pubs. The two important pillars of Bitcoin as an alternative monetary system are economical and philosophical. The economical pillars, and me as an Austrian, I'm very proud of this, is the Austrian School of Economics, Mises, Hayek, Menger, Böhm-Bawerk, etc. The idea is that money does not come from the state. Money is something that we choose ourselves, and collectively, when we choose something, it's called the market. We chose gold over centuries. We chose gold first silver, gold, then only gold, and then we went to paper because gold was not practical enough. You can say that Bitcoin solves a problem that is at least 400 years old, because that's when we went off physical gold and into the world of paper. And the second philosophical pillar is, of course, the cypherpunks. We need to transact privately on the internet. This is a problem in our current age because, of course, when a monetary system leads to centralization, it also leads to control. A central bank digital currency is nothing else than total control, basically the Secret Service running your bank account. So the cypherpunks knew this, and they worked on digital money and the idea of digital money for decades. Bitcoin did not come out of the blue. Bitcoin came out of the work of decades. The pillars of Bitcoin are the exact opposite of the pillars of the current monetary system we live in. It's all built on sound money. It's 21 million. If you own one Bitcoin, you always will own one of only 21 million. So it's the hardest money, actually, that the world has ever seen. That enables us to save. We do not have to speculate. The only speculation is that Bitcoin gets adopted. That's the speculation. But we do not have to speculate in the markets. We do not have to speculate on real estate, sneakers, NFTs, art, any of this. We can save again. And of course, this distributes power. And yes, it also distributes wealth over time. Because the thing is, other than proof of stake, which we have in our current system, you cannot make more money out of money. So you, at some point, will have to spend your Bitcoin, even if you don't want to. And if you don't spend it, your children will. The money supply of Bitcoin is absolutely capped at 21 million. Within 100 years, we'll be there. The money supply of the current system is infinite. The consensus mechanism, how do we come about changes to the protocol? In our current system, it's a bunch of rich people sitting around the table being extremely smart or thinking that they are extremely smart, trying to steer our economy. Please think about this for 1 second. We've had political discussions for centuries, but there's one thing. It doesn't matter if you live in so-called capitalism or socialism. It doesn't matter if you live in China, North Korea, Africa, South America or North America. There's one thing that is absolutely universal all around the world, and that's that the state and the central bank control the money. And if you control the money, of course, you control everything else. It's also true that we don't know how much dollars there are. We don't know how much euros there are. We don't even know how much gold there is. It's more of speculation on how we think we know how much gold there is or how much gold there might be. We know exactly how many Bitcoin are out there. We don't know, maybe some of them are lost, people have lost their keys, but we still know that they are out there. This leads to a rising purchasing power in money. People call it deflation. It's actually disinflationary. It's not so important, but it's the opposite of the monetary expansion, right? Expansion leads to a lower buying power, and contraction leads to a higher buying power. Also important, Bitcoin cannot discriminate. Bitcoin is neutral. Bitcoin does not care about the color of your skin. It does not care what your name is, what your political beliefs are, where you come from. It does not care about your sexual identity or any of these things. Bitcoin does not even know that people exist. And by not knowing that people exist, it cannot discriminate. There is no discrimination. Discrimination is solved. This is extremely important because the other monetary system is highly discriminatory. And then you come to the economic effects of Bitcoin. And this is my favorite slide. By the way, these slides are not done by me, or most of these slides are not done by me, but by Anil said so at Twitter. Check him out, follow him, he's brilliant. This is my absolute favorite slide about Bitcoin. Just think about this for 1 second. If there is monetary energy in the stock market, if there is savings in the stock market, if you store your store of value in the real estate market, in gold, in liquor, sneakers, the art market, because you want to preserve your purchasing power, then all of this store of value within all of these markets is up for grabs for Bitcoin. Bitcoin can digitize all this value, just like the iPhone digitized maps and TV and your alarm clock and your calculator. Thinking about this is so huge that even if you sit here today and you don't even decide to buy Bitcoin for the next 10 years, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You don't even need to have Bitcoin to profit from Bitcoin. We are extremely early in this journey. Yes, there is 5,000, 6,000, 10,000 people here today, but this is still nothing compared to the rest of the world. It's exactly 14 minutes. Thank you very much.